Hey guys, welcome back to Sustainsessions. This is part 2 of Learn Yourself, Be Yourself, and we're just going to jump straight back into it and the different points. So this one's very much related to gospel artists, people of faith. If you have high level prophecy, big words that are released over you, move towards them, but don't get discouraged when they don't come to pass in the time frame that you have set. So a lot of times when it comes to prophecy and things like that, God will release a word. There's a word that's released over you. That word may not necessarily come to pass straight away. And there's a way in which we want God to fit into our timing that may not be the plan that God has for us in that way. The prophecy may not be inaccurate, it may be accurate, but it may take longer to fulfill than you initially think. So keep your attitude right in that regard and realize you're not God. And even though God has released it, he's not being cruel, he's trying to encourage you, and wage a good warfare with that prophecy. Continue to learn all the time, so it keeps your artistry fresh and gives you a greater toolbox that can help you to network and do other things if you're learning. So learn all you can around, for example, like I started off just as quote unquote a singer. By this time I've learned a lot of the things that go around the complementary gifts to singing. What are the complementary gifts to singing? Playing an instrument can be a complementary gift. Recording can be a complementary gift. Songwriting can be a complementary gift. Arranging can be a complementary gift. Engineering can be a complementary gift. Performing obviously is a complementary gift to singing. So these are all the different things that you can develop, you can learn, and that can just help you to, and that way as well, you have more in your toolbox. And sometimes you'll find yourself in situations, even as a singer, like now I'll find myself in situations where even though singing, being an artist is maybe like still one of my primary gifts, I have like a lot of secondary gifts now where I'll find myself in certain creative spaces and it's not from being an artist. And that just enables you, I guess, to just network and to meet more people and just to increase your network, because you're not, even in, especially working the music business side of things, I'm not in a room as an artist, but I can relate a lot more because I am an artist. And so it kind of gives you a little extra bow in your little extra string in your bow, like if you have other gifts that are able to come to the fore, it just helps you a little bit. This one's a tough one. In the short term, as an artist, especially if you're in gospel, which is a niche within a niche, we've talked about this before, it may be worth at least getting a job, thinking about a side business or some other way to make some money to support yourself. Now, there's two kind of ways of thinking about this. You have those who were like, all eggs in one basket, I'm all in, 100%. That's all good. That's 100% good. I'm not discrediting that. But that's not for everyone. That genuinely is not for everyone. And you can still work on your gift while working. I did it. I worked 12 years at PRS for Music. All throughout that time, I was releasing music. I was doing bits and pieces. I was still involved in music, still very involved. Praise and worship and loads of different things. I was still involved. So just because you're working, it doesn't mean that you can't be involved in music. And it takes the pressure off, especially gospel music. I find, especially in UK gospel, and I'm going to be very honest about this, it might be a little bit controversial, but I think some of the problems that we have in UK gospel is just the lack of sustainability of the industry, money-wise. And it means that people feel like they have to charge for everything. Because there's a lot of reasons there's not as much money in gospel, and some of it is not people's fault. Without a doubt, it's not people's fault. So sometimes it's an infrastructure thing. It's also a thing where, as I said, it just hasn't been certain infrastructures built. and especially working where I worked at PRS, where I would see other sectors of the music industry, including CCM, making decent money, and artists of our equivalent in gospel aren't. And it's because they've got labels, they've got publishers, they've got all these different infrastructure things that are in place that mean, unfortunately, I have a head start in certain things. And it is sad, it's very sad, but this is why I'm saying that your core focus can't be money. If you're just in this thing to make money, I don't think it's going to pan out the way you want it to. So I'd say seek the Lord about it. I mean, if you feel like God's calling you to do it full time, do it. But there's a difference between God saying something and, as I said, moving towards it, and saying, okay, I'm going whole hog. And whole hog is great. I don't deny that. Whole hog is 100% great. But your faith has to be huge to take that leap. Huge. And I'm sure God will provide. If God has said it, he will definitely provide. That's without a doubt. So I'm not encouraging people to doubt the word of God. I'm just saying, balance it. Nothing wrong with getting a part-time job. Even if you are going full-time, you could do a couple of days a week somewhere, cut short shifts, something that's high paying but low volume, for example. There's lots of different ways around this, but, just to be thinking, okay, I'm just going to make my money from music, you're putting a strain on yourself, you're putting a strain on ministries as well, like, if I'm honest, because even Paul, like one of the greatest apostles, was a tent maker, and his tent making meant, from when I read the Gospels and when I understand it, is that he didn't have to be a burden to where he was going to preach. He didn't have to demand X amount of honorarium or money because he'd already had a career, he had money. So it's the same thing with me as well. Like I'm used to making my money outside of music, or outside of being an artist, should I say, that I don't feel like I need to put that burden on anywhere I'm sent to minister. I can gladly go and freely minister. I'm not saying free is the watchword for everyone at all. I'm just saying it gives you the freedom to be able to approach things and do things in that way. So yeah, don't be impatient and force doors. That's a big one. Oh my gosh. And it goes back to the entitlement thing. So many people feel like, yeah, it's my time, I'm going to force the door. But kind of how it is in the physical is how it is in the natural. Like, people don't want you to force doors. Like, don't force things. If it's not working, it's not working. Like, it's difference between being ambitious and being shrewd and developing connections and asking questions and being bold than forcing doors. Like, sometimes it's like, nah, dude, that's a no. And you force it and you go through. And then it's like you'd be known as the person that forced the door. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I'd say about that. Constantly ask the Holy Spirit for direction in prayer. That's another one I've talked about previously. Be adaptable and open to other people. I think that's a good one. Be adaptable and be open to other people. You never know sometimes where relationships will form that are meant to assist your next level and how you're meant to assist someone's next level. So be kind, be nice to people. You never know. This is a good one. Don't share your overall plans with a lot of people. I think at this point, the only person I really share my long-term plans with is probably my wife in terms of music. Not for any particular reason. I've got a lot of people I trust, a lot of people I'd be happy to tell quite a lot of it to, but it's just through experience and learning. Like, it's almost like counting your chickens before they're hatched. Just hold up on it. Like, you might know God is telling you certain things and showing you certain things, but just hold off on it. Not everyone wants to hear your dream. It's like Joseph, he told his brothers his dreams. Next thing, my man was in the pit and he was sold into slavery and all sorts of stuff was going on. And that's because they despised his dreams. And as well as that, you don't want people speaking negatively against your dreams. I feel like dreams are like, to an extent, they're like babies, they're like in a womb. They're meant to be protected until the time they're birthed. So it's not for everyone to know your dreams. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. This is one that I think is a little bit. It's not controversial. People do it, and I can probably do it because of the level I'm at. I'm sure people who are at greater levels would struggle to do this one. But it's all about your heart in relation to this one. Responding to people, fans, commentators, and stuff like that. You're not better than the audience you're putting your music in front of. Let me just put that out there. You're not better than the audience you're putting your music in front of. They are people as well, and they may appreciate what you're doing, but because they appreciate you, doesn't give you a right to just ignore them or to just think, yeah, that's the praise. And you start to take on the praise as well. You're like, yeah, that's the way. I know I smashed it, thanks. And you're not even saying thanks. In your head, you're saying thanks. But you're just leaving them to say their, like, deep comments on there. You're just like, yeah, thanks, on the inside. It's not cool, man. I think just be normal, innit? It's like, you're a musician. It's not... I don't think there's any career or anything in the whole of life that can make you, that should or could make you conceited to the point that you don't want to engage with people. Especially an industry like ours where you are actually catering to people. You're serving people music. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, there's that one. I've kind of mentioned this one before, but this is a bit more specific. Don't sell out your integrity for short-term success. So what I'd say is that whatever you go into that door with, you may potentially have to sustain that door with. I won't give specific examples, but I had an example where I was offered to do something and it went completely against my values, and I just said, no, not for me. Not for me. Although it was attractive, it was nice to be thought of, that I was talented enough to be offered whatever. And it's always flattering, do you know what I mean? It's always flattering to be offered something. But it's like, as a married man, like, it's flattering if a woman tells me, oh, you know, but I'm not looking for that flattery. And two, beyond that, am I going to act on that flattery? No, because it's not the right thing to do. So that's what I'd say to you as well. Just don't sell out your integrity for short-term gains. Please don't. Next one I'll say is to be a light. Like, be a light. I find there's so many, like, it's challenging. There's so many gospel artists, I feel like, they don't want to be a light. They don't want to be a light. You're a light, but you don't want to be a light. And it's hard. Like, trust me, it's hard. To be a light is hard. Like, to watch what you post, to not just fly off the handle with the way you feel about things, to not be aggressive, to not be angry, to not be frustrated and visibly so. But to whom much is given, much is required. You've been given a calling, if you're a gospel artist, to be a light. And, you know, there's this whole sort of thinking like, I'm just called to kind of just mingle with the other lights. But that's not really what you're called to. You're actually called to kind of go out and to be a witness and to influence your spheres. And so with that, you have to be okay with being Christ-like in sometimes some funky situations, some places you don't want to be. And sometimes you're going to have to take the unpopular stances. Don't shy away from it. You're a Christian. You have Christ. You believe the word. You believe the gospel. You have to be strong and stand for what you believe in. Enough said on that one. So these are just some very last tips now. Firstly, just enjoy the journey, man. Enjoy the journey of being an artist. I wish I would do this more. A lot of times for me it feels like work being an artist, but enjoy the journey. Like, for me, when I finished like Breakthrough Sessions 2 and I was listening back to it, I was having genuine moments of like just smiling and like joyful, like I created this. I was so involved with this. I was proud. I was happy. Like, that's the feeling you should get with music. And even though I don't always get it when I'm creating it, at the end, a lot of times I get that feeling. Like, for me, when I release a project, as corny as it sounds, I'm gonna go and buy that project. I'm gonna buy it. The day it comes out, I'm gonna buy it. Like, I'm a fan of me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna go and buy it. I'm gonna go and play it in my car. and I'm gonna listen to it, and I'm gonna eat off my music. I'm gonna enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? So not everyone's for that. Like, some people don't like their recorded voice and stuff like that, but for me, sometimes I know it's a gift of God. So sometimes I'm amazed what it can transform into, and I enjoy it because I'm like, oh, this is quite cool. It's quite different. That's just me. Probably a bit weird, but embrace your quirks. Embrace your quirks and learn how to make them your strengths. So sometimes you will have, especially early on, you'll have these little quirks where people will be like, they'll say things about you, like they might even say it to your face. Yeah, and you just embrace them, man. Like, it might change if God takes it away. It'll change as you grow, but if not, that just might be who you are. Embrace it. You've only got one you, got one life to live, you've got one opportunity to do music. So embrace it. Embrace your quirks. Make your own rules. Now, I'm not talking about being lawless. Like, I'm just saying, make your own rules. Like, just because everyone's always done things this way, you don't have to do it that way. You can do it a bit that way. Do you know what I mean? And I think you just have to be willing to be like that. Be a bit of an innovator. Be a bit different. Be a bit out there. Be someone who's a bit like, I don't know what he's going to do next. Like, that's kind of exciting for me from an artist. Like, I don't know what he's going to do next. He's going to kind of do some different stuff. I think the king of that, personally, for me, is like Kanye. He's the guy that's like that, just really thinks outside the box, just does what he wants, doesn't care how people feel about it, in good and bad ways. But, you know, more recently with like his gospel album and stuff, like, people weren't expecting that, and the way he did it and all of that. So be you, man, and just embrace it. And I said, as long as you aren't violating the word of God, be free, man. Don't. A lot of times you hear people say, rap doesn't belong in Christianity. R&B doesn't belong in Christianity. Soul music doesn't belong in Christianity. It's not. There's no biblical basis for that. So I can't get down with the extra biblical talk. If it's in the Bible and you can show me it, show me it. They might say something like friendship with the world, but we're also called to be fishers of men, and fishers use bait that attracts fish. So yeah, fishermen use bait that attracts fish. So you have to have bait that's attractive. And as I said, once you're not violating the word of God, it's all good. I think one of the tips I've learned in this journey is starting with what I like starting with things you like. That's usually a good indicator of where you're meant to go. There's certain things that you will do that will energize you and just feel so good. Like, for me, even one of the things I've done recently this year is like voicey, because I know that I can sit there and in about sort of 5 to 15 minutes, maybe even half an hour most, but usually it's about 5 minutes, I can write a song. I just hear a beat and I can write a song. And so that energizes me. Like, that's how I've always been. Even when I was in like sixth form college, I used to be in a group and we would freestyle, and I just used to love freestyling because I used to just be able to create things just in my head. And so that energizes me. Do you know what I mean? So you have to embrace that part of you, man. Embrace it. Embrace the thing that you like and go towards that, because that's usually a sign of what you're meant to do. I've said this already, unashamedly be Christian. Don't compromise too much. One of the other things I would say is that the game is not what it seems to be. There's a lot of agendas and different maneuvering of pieces, and there's a lot of fluff as well. Like, there's a saying that I love: men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie. Eesh, when it comes to me as an artist, that would be a painful truth, but the reality is a lot of people giving you advice or telling you about things sometimes, they may have a level of success, but the pride and the arrogance and the things it comes with compared to people that I've personally engaged with, for example, when I used to work at PRS, who may be doing 100 times, 10 times, 1,000 times what this person's doing, but is more humble, and isn't so harsh with the advice and the criticism. So yeah, it's not what it seems. Not all advice is good advice, and not everyone should have your ear to be giving you advice. Do you know what I mean? Some of it you're gonna have to ignore. You might have to pleasantly smile and go, thanks for that. some you'll just have to reject internally, and actually some you'll have to just cleanse yourself from, because it's just sent from the enemy to just cause some madness in your mind. So yeah, the music industry is not a one-size-fits-all industry. Not at all. I learned that mainly from mixing. Like when I'm still very much learning how to mix. I'm not the greatest mix engineer at all, but when I was learning mixing, I was looking for a key. Like, what does every single mix engineer do to a bass, like a kick drum? Do they all compress it? Do they all EQ it this way to that particular frequency? Do they all put it through like analog gear, or like analog software? Do you know what I mean? To like emulation, that's the word I was looking for. Analog emulations to try and make it sound this way. And what I found out, there's no one size fits all. Different genres, even different sub-genres within genres, mixed completely different. It might be an industry standard, but then also if you're trying to build for the long term, you have to kind of also take the advice, learn it, but then learn how to flip it and change it, because you want to be an innovator that's not just adhering to current trends, if that makes sense. Yeah, my very last trust your ear, trust your taste. That's what I would say. And the last one is learn nuggets from listening to people further ahead in the game than you. Now, in this instance, it could or could not be me. There's many people that have gone before me, I'm sure, that have a lot more advice about the music industry. And wherever I see them, especially even in UK gospel or gospel music, I will look out for those people, and I will try to listen and try to see if there's anything that I can glean and gain from it. So, you know, then they're the free nuggets you have. There's so much information out there. Like, one of the main things that I said I like to do is listen to successful people. That's why I like watching and listening to interviews. Sometimes a lot of secular interviews, because I like to see the mentalities of people that overcome. I like to see, and there's always a common thread. There's always a common thread that you'll notice with successful people and people who have longevity in things. And one of them is like a can-do attitude. Another thing is being themselves. Like, another thing is like evolving, moving with things, learning. There's this certain common traits amongst people who are successful. So listen to people. Like, don't be afraid to listen to people. Take what you think is right and reject the rest. But nothing ever in this thing is personal until it is personal. And even when it is personal, you can love and forgive people and move on with it. So that concludes what is this? This isn't even Breakthrough Sessions. This is Sustain Sessions, episode 3. Keep tuned for episode 4. And yeah, definitely. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening so far to part A and part B. If you missed part A, you can go back and listen to part A, because they're tied together. Learn yourself, be yourself. God bless, guys. Have a great evening, and wherever you are, God bless.